Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss King Richard, starring Will Smith, Anjuan Ellis, forgive me if I said that wrong, Sania Sidney, Demi Singleton, Tony Goldwyn, and John Bernthal, directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green. Now, I am a little late to this one because, as far as reviewing it is concerned, and I might bring up a little thing about what happened at the Oscars with Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett Smith, whatever the hell you want to call that. But honestly, I'm not gonna play any blame games on this show, so I'm just gonna get straight into the movie as Rich. And here we go. Richard Williams, played by Will Smith, works his $2, Venus, played by Sania Sidney, and Serena Williams, played by Demi Singleton, as to become successful pro players at tennis. And yes, this is a true story of Venus and Serena Williams with their father, Richard Williams, before they became famous tennis players. And this may be the best Will Smith performance I've seen since Ali and the Pursuit of Happiness, and I love the accent he pulls off in this movie as they live in Compton, California, as he wants them to be big things in life, like tennis players and lawyers, for example, as he wants them off the streets of Compton, which is a nice setup for the movie for sure. While practicing playing tennis, some gang comes up to one of the Williams daughters, Shantae, and harass her, and Richard tells them to leave her alone, and the gang beat up on Richard, and he walks away, which isn't the smartest move in my opinion. As they go home, Richard's wife, Ursine, aka Brandy, played by Anjuan Ellis, forgive me if I said that wrong, whom I've seen before in previous works in a few movies like Men of Honor with Robert De Niro and Cuba Gooding Jr., Undercover Brother, and Ray, which is a biopic of Ray Charles with Jamie Foxx. But her acting is incredible here, as well as the actresses playing Venus and Serena Williams, and they're absolutely tremendous in this film. Richard works a graveyard shift as a security guard, as nobody had always respected him as a person. Like people will respect Venus and Serena Williams, and he brings magazines to work and discovers a tennis manager named Vic Braden, who comes off despicable, but Kevin Dunn always pulls despicable off perfectly. And I like being around these characters, and I like how true to life this movie is. Like people rejecting people to become famous. Those bastards. Richard leaves dinner earlier than usual to go to the tennis courts and gets his ass beat up by the gangsters flirting with Shantae earlier in the film, as they tell him nobody cares for him, and almost puts a bullet in his head, which sounds cruel, as he drives by their current location and almost puts a bullet on a gangster's ass, maybe Chris Rock style. Forgive me if I brought that up and hurt someone's feelings. Until somebody else shoots them up first and drives away. And it's unfortunately what happens to people being in gangs in real life, but it's the ugly truth. And the beginning pulls off the ugly truth very realistically. But all this is about to change in the next 25-30 minutes as it becomes a miracle of a movie. Richard takes Venus and Serena to a private club tennis practice to meet with Paul Cohen, played by Tony Goldwyn, to show him how great they are at tennis as tennis players, and Paul dismisses Serena while Venus hits more tennis balls and gets offered a contract, which she'll take without Serena, and that's when the miracle begins. But more miracles will happen after this point in the movie, which will work tremendously. Brandy teaches Serena behind Richard's back as she becomes another kind of athlete, while Paul and Richard teach Venus, and they have different ways of teaching Venus. For example, Richard tells her to play open while not wanting to go pro, and Paul wants her to go pro, and he wants her to play some juniors, which is a great choice being made by Venus. Venus plays her first junior game against some Caucasian girls and beats every single one of them while playing competitively with the other girls, and when the other girls misses some shots, they talk down amongst themselves, which is kind of strange, but you know what? I'm going with it. Venus wins first place at junior tennis, and they brag about tennis and how Venus won anyways, and Richard tells them not to get themselves a drink and because he doesn't want to hear them bragging, and drives away from the convenience store. And he and Brandy argue about getting the girls. And the next scene, they watch Cinderella to learn about being humble and kind to each other when the world is cruel, anyways. And I do enjoy these scenes for the wonderful acting by these actors. Richard takes Venus and Serena to practice in the rain, and some gangsters come by and help out Richard taking their courts back. And as they get home, the cops are there because get called by a neighbor named Betty who hates Richard. And the speech Richard gives the cops is magnificent, and I love that scene for Will Smith's performance, which it's a shame that they took his Oscar away. And Brandy tells Betty to never call the cops on them again. I was loving this scene. They get to another junior tennis match for Venus, and Richard learns Serena is also playing tennis behind his back. And he tells her to continue playing, and they both win silver and gold trophies. And this movie has the best spirit, in my opinion. Richard and Brandy have the TV on and learn about police brutality is still existing, while the next scene, First Lady for President Reagan, as Richard meets the couple of agents, not cops, but celebrity agents, as he points out one of the guys, Laird, says it's incredible twice, as he gets upset as they offers $100,000 to be Venus's agent. And Richard farts and forces Venus and Serena to go with him, and they're at a country club and telling them not to eat the food, and the fart moment was unnecessary, sure. And so is forcing the kids off the country club. But the scene is well shot, and the movie is well made, in my opinion. Paul tells Richard to put Venus in a pro, but unfortunately, Richard fires Paul and continues juniors for Venus, while Venus wants to inspire all the African American people to be whoever they are, which will be explained later in the film, which is inspiring. Richard calls Rick Mackey, I think I said wrong, I could be wrong, played by John Bernthal, and asks him to come to Compton, and he does, to see how great Venus and Serena are at tennis, and they prove the point, as he's impressed and believes he's got the next two Michael Jordans. And by Michael Jordan, I'm talking about basketball versus tennis in the world, but for tennis. And I enjoyed John Bernthal in this movie, and as it's an incredible performance, particularly the mustache. I got one right here. The Williams moved to Florida as they practice at a tennis court that's near Disney World, and the music in these scenes is a good choice despite I don't know the name of the songs in general. It was set in older days. Venus and Serena play a game of tennis with Jennifer let me see if I'm saying this right. Capriati? Something like that. I forgot if I said that wrong. Who is a real life tennis player. It's spelled Capriati. By the way, folks, as Richard makes some demands from Rick to not play juniors anymore, as it's supposed to be a start, while Richard forces Venus to do an interview while practicing, as she hasn't played tennis for 3 years back in 1991. That's when it is, as the year is taking place in 1994, while Rick wants Venus to play pros in Oakland, while Richard doesn't want her to play in pro in Oakland, as Rick believes she's ready, and so does Richard, as he talks with Rick about Venus playing pro and says he'll think about it until the next segment. And I'm so impressed with how this movie is like life with some miracles, I'll say. Richard sees on the TV that Jennifer was arrested for cocaine issues and decides to take them to Disney World because of what he saw on the TV, as he breaks Venus's heart by saying she's not going to play in the tournament in Oakland. And it takes Brandy to convince him to let Venus play in the tournament in Oakland. And the next scene is the scene I brought up earlier, where Venus makes a speech about being an inspiration for African American girls and any other girl who wants to play tennis in real life. And I love the acting in these scenes, but not only Will Smith, but Anjuan Ellis and Sanaya Sidney, as their acting in these two scenes are very well done by each and every one of them, as it brings tears in my eyes. And I hope Will Smith wins. Well, he did win Best Actor, but then they had to take it away because of the whole situation with Chris Rock. And the other two give great performances as well. They get to Oakland for the tournament, and a friend of Rick's named Patrick visits the Williams family, and offers them money for that particular night only, and Venus rejects as they go to the seafood buffet, and she's, in my opinion, becoming an inspiration in my heart. Venus plays tennis with a passion and wins against the opponent and gets interviewed by a reporter and learns about playing Vicario, who's from Spain. I forget if that's the person's first name or last name, but who's the best tennis player in the pro. And this movie has been tight as far as the editing goes for a 2.5 hour movie. But I felt the energy from the movie that I never felt the pacing back being off. And that's a great thing for a 2.5 hour movie, as it impressed me. We get the match between Venus and Vicario while Richard watches it in the TV in the stadium, and the match begins with Venus playing well, and in fact almost too well, to the point Vicario takes a long break in the toilet, let's say, to show she can beat Venus and tries to scare her, which won't work, which got me a little scared. I will admit I was on the edge of my seat. Vicario eventually comes out of the toilet to play more tennis and Venus, and also plays well with Venus, but unfortunately Vicario wins the match as Venus cries about it, and it's not her fault, I'll say that. And both Richard and Brandy cheer her up and take her outside, and she shows she inspired the world as they cheered her name. And the credits roll to a brief documentary about how Richard Williams and his daughter Venus and Serena Williams, from a camcorder to TV broadcasts, and the accomplishment of the Williams family. And that was a nice way to end the movie with the song that's nominated for original song being performed by Beyonce, called Be Alive, which is an inspiring song in my opinion. And Will Smith, don't blame me for I mean, it's not my thinking that you would slap Chris Rock. I'm not going to get into full details on that, but please don't sue me for this, because I'm just trying to review the movie and that's what I remember hearing. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.9 out of 10. The performances by everyone was phenomenal, and I really like being around these characters thanks to these actors and the script. The script was well written and made me inspired by Venus Williams to do anything in life, despite it went from real life to a miracle life. The music choices were great, and the song by Beyonce is the song to win Best Song, but even though it didn't, and Will Smith should win Best Actor trophy. But I'm sorry, Will. I didn't do that to you. It was somebody else. But as I felt the tightness of the editing, and hopefully it'll win that Oscar as well, which it did, until it got taken away. Sorry to disappoint, Will. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and until then, let's play some tennis.